The shuttle descended through purple clouds toward the crystal spires below. Taeyang pressed his face against the window, watching the alien city grow larger. After 3 months of travel, they were finally here. The Verath homeworld looked like something from a dream, all gleaming towers and floating gardens. "First time seeing an alien capital?" asked Minho from the seat beside him. Taeyang nodded. He had been a security officer for 5 years, but this was different. This was history. Humanity's first official diplomatic visit to the Verath Empire. Captain Hyun sat in the front row reviewing notes on his datapad. Dr. Ji-won checked her medical kit for the 3rd time. Everyone felt the weight of the moment. The shuttle landed in a vast courtyard made of smooth white stone. Taeyang stepped out first, scanning for threats. The air smelled sweet, like flowers he had never encountered. Tall figures waited at the base of a grand staircase. The Verath, they were beautiful and strange. Their skin looked like polished crystal, catching the light of their orange sun. They moved with grace that made humans seem clumsy by comparison. Most stood at least 7 feet tall, with long limbs and faces that were both familiar and alien. Their eyes were large and dark, showing no visible pupils. "Welcome, humans of Earth," said the tallest Verath. Her voice sounded like music. "I am Queen Velnara, sovereign of the Verath Empire. You honor us with your presence." Captain Hyun stepped forward and bowed. "Your Majesty, we are grateful for your invitation. Humanity seeks friendship with your great empire." The Queen's crystalline skin shifted from pale blue to soft gold. Taeyang had read that meant pleasure or approval. She gestured toward the palace. "Come, we have prepared a reception in your honor. There is much to discuss about your people joining the Galactic Council." The palace interior was even more impressive than the outside. Everything seemed to be made from crystal or glass, but nothing felt cold. Light moved through the walls in patterns that changed as they walked. Taeyang stayed close to Captain Hyun, his eyes constantly moving. Something felt off, though he could not explain what. They entered a massive garden under a transparent dome. Alien plants grew in impossible colors. Water floated in the air, forming streams that defied gravity. Hundreds of Verath waited, dressed in flowing robes that seemed to be made from liquid light. Music played from nowhere and everywhere at once. "Your gardens are incredible," said Ji-won, her eyes wide with wonder. "Thank you," replied Queen Velnara. "These plants have grown here for 3,000 of your years. We Verath live long lives and we cherish things that endure." The reception began. Verath nobles approached the humans with careful curiosity. They asked questions about Earth, about human culture, about their short lifespans. Some questions felt almost rude, but Captain Hyun had warned them. To species that lived for centuries, humans were like mayflies. Taeyang accepted a drink from a servant. It tasted like starlight if starlight could be liquid. Mio stood nearby, also scanning the crowd. Both of them felt it now. "That wrongness in the air, do you sense it?" Mino whispered. "Yeah, stay alert." The attack came without warning. One moment, the garden was full of music and conversation. The next, explosions ripped through the air. Verath screamed. Crystal shattered. Taeyang's training took over instantly. "Get the captain down," he shouted. Figures in dark armor materialized from behind the floating streams. They carried weapons that glowed with purple energy. "Plasma rifles." Taeyang recognized them from his briefings. These were Verath weapons, which meant the attackers were Verath themselves. The palace guards moved, but they were too slow. One of the attackers raised his rifle toward Queen Velnara. She stood frozen, her skin flashing through rapid colors. Fear, Taeyang realized. She was terrified. He did not think. He ran. His legs pushed off the ground, carrying him across the garden in seconds. The attacker's finger was already on the trigger. Taeyang slammed into the queen, throwing her to the side. The plasma blast hit him square in the chest. Pain exploded through his body. It felt like being struck by lightning and burned by fire at the same time. Taeyang crashed to the ground, his uniform smoking. He could smell his own flesh burning. The world tilted sideways, more shots rang out. Palace guards returned fire. The attackers were being cut down, but Taeyang barely registered it. His chest felt like it was still on fire. He tried to breathe and gasped. His vision started to blur. "Human, stay with me!" The queen's face appeared above him. Her skin flashed white with shock. "Medical team, now!" Hands grabbed him. Verath medical personnel in white robes surrounded him. They spoke rapidly in their musical language, their voices high with panic. One of them pulled open his burned uniform, revealing the wound. The queen leaned over to look. Her entire body went rigid. Every part of her crystalline skin stopped moving like she had turned into a statue. Her large eyes grew even wider. She said something in her native tongue, her voice barely a whisper. What did she say? Taeyang managed to gasp out. One of the human delegation members who knew some Varath answered, his voice shaking. She said, "Impossible. The prophecies were true. Your Majesty, we must move him to the medical wing," insisted the Varath doctor. "This injury is severe. If we don't act now, do everything," the Queen commanded, her voice suddenly sharp with authority. "Everything in our power. This human saved my life. I will not let him die." They lifted Taeyang onto some kind of floating stretcher. The pain was getting worse, but he fought to stay conscious. Captain Hyun ran alongside them, his face pale. "You're going to be okay, Tae," Hyun said, though he sounded like he was trying to convince himself. "Just hang on." Ji-won appeared on his other side, her medical scanner already out. Severe plasma burns across the chest and right shoulder. 3rd degree, possibly 4th. "He's going into shock. Will he survive?" the Queen asked, keeping pace with the stretcher despite her formal robes. Ji-won looked uncertain. "I don't know. Humans are tougher than we look, but this is bad. Really bad." The Queen's skin shifted through a dozen colors. "Tougher than you look," she repeated as if testing the words. "Yes, perhaps you are." They rushed through crystal corridors. Taeyang's consciousness kept fading in and out. He caught glimpses of concerned Varath faces, of Minho running to catch up, of elaborate medical equipment being prepared. The pain was becoming distant, which worried him. That meant his body was shutting down. The last thing he saw before darkness took him was the Queen's face. She was looking at his wound with an expression he could not read. Wonder, fear, recognition. "The prophecies were true," she whispered again. Then everything went black. Somewhere far away, alarms were ringing. Voices shouted in multiple languages. Machines hummed to life. But Taeyang heard none of it. He floated in darkness, his body fighting a battle he was not conscious enough to understand. And in that darkness, something interesting was already beginning to happen. Something that would change everything the Varath thought they knew about humans. Something that would make an alien queen question the entire structure of galactic civilization. His body was already starting to heal. Taeyang woke to soft blue light and the sound of gentle chimes. His chest hurt, but not the way he expected. It was a dull ache instead of the screaming agony he remembered. He tried to sit up and managed it on the 2nd attempt. "Easy now," said a familiar voice. Ji-won appeared beside his bed, her face tired but smiling. "You've been out for almost 2 days." 2 days? Taeyang looked down at himself. His chest was wrapped in some kind of shimmering bandage that felt warm against his skin. Through the transparent material, he could see his wound. It looked bad, but not as bad as he thought it would. "What happened after I passed out?" "The Varath medical team saved your life," Ji-won explained, pulling up a chair. "Their technology is incredible. They stabilized you within the first hour. But Tae, something strange is happening. Something that has the Varath doctors very confused." "What do you mean?" Before Ji-won could answer, the door opened. Queen Velnara entered, followed by an elderly Varath in white robes. The Queen's skin was a calm green color, but it shifted to gold when she saw Taeyang awake. "You live," she said, and her voice carried relief. "I am grateful. You saved my life at great cost to yourself." Taeyang bowed his head awkwardly from the bed. "Just doing my job, Your Majesty. Your job is to die for strangers?" The Queen tilted her head in that alien way. "That is remarkable." The elderly Varath stepped forward. "I am High Physician Torvesh. I have treated injuries for 400 of your years. I have never seen anything like what your body is doing." "What my body is doing?" Taeyang felt confused. Ji-won pulled out her datapad, showing him scans. "You're healing, Tae, fast, much faster than the Varath expected. They've been monitoring you constantly because they can't believe what they're seeing." Torvesh touched a control panel, and a holographic display appeared above the bed. It showed Taeyang's wound in detail. "When you arrived, the damage was catastrophic. The plasma burned through multiple layers of tissue. For a Varath, such an injury would take months to heal if they survived at all. Many would not. But I'm not Varath," Taeyang said. "Precisely," the Queen said, leaning closer. "You are human. And humans, it seems, heal differently than any species we have encountered." Torvesh brought up more images, comparing scans from 2 days ago to scans from this morning. "Look here. New tissue is already forming. Your body has begun reconstructing damaged areas at a rate that should be impossible. At this pace, you will be ambulatory within a week. Fully healed within a month. Is that unusual? Taeyang asked. The Queen and the physician exchanged glances. For us, the Queen said quietly, it is beyond unusual. It is miraculous. A Vareth with your injury would be bedridden for half a year. Most would never fully recover. Over the next few days, Taeyang became used to the constant visits from Vareth medical staff. They scanned him every few hours, always muttering to each other in amazement. The Queen came every day asking questions about human biology, human pain tolerance, human healing. Does it hurt? She asked on the third day. Yes, Taeyang admitted, but it's manageable. I've had worse injuries during training. Her skin flashed white with shock. You have been injured worse than this before? Broke my leg in 2 places during a training exercise. Dislocated my shoulder. Torn muscles. Various cuts and bruises. Taeyang shrugged with his good shoulder. Comes with the job. And you healed from all of these? Of course. Took a few months for the leg, but yeah, I healed. The Queen sat down slowly as if her legs would not hold her. A few months, she repeated. For a broken leg. One of our people broke their arm 10 years ago. It still pains them. They will likely carry that pain for the rest of their life. Taeyang stared at her. You're serious? Completely. We Vareth live long lives, but we are fragile. We heal slowly. We avoid physical conflict because a single serious injury can be permanent. She looked at his wound. Your species is different. Very different. On the 5th day, Taeyang was allowed to walk around his room. Sunmi, a young researcher from the human delegation, came to visit. She brought her datapad filled with notes. I've been studying Vareth history, she said excitedly. There are these old texts, almost like religious prophecies. They talk about a species from a distant world that would come to the stars. A species that refuses to break, refuses to fall, heals from wounds that would kill others. And you think they're talking about humans? The Queen does. She had me brought to the Royal Archives yesterday. Tay, some of these texts are thousands of years old. They describe exactly what you're doing right now. Taeyang looked down at his healing wound. The bandage had been changed to a lighter one. He could see pink new skin forming at the edges of the burn. That's impossible. How could ancient aliens know about humans? I don't know, Sunmi admitted. But the Queen believes it. She's been waiting her whole life for these prophecies to come true. Minho visited that evening bringing food from the human ship. Real food. Not the strange Vareth nutrition paste that tasted like flowers. They ate together and Taeyang felt more normal than he had in days. The other delegates are talking, Minho said quietly. The Vareth want to know more about human healing. They're asking about our medical technology, our biology, everything. Why does that worry you? Because they're scared, Tay. I can see it in how they look at us now. They thought humans were just another species joining the council. Now they're realizing we're something different, something that might change everything. On the 7th day, Queen Velnara brought Taeyang to a private balcony overlooking the city. The orange sun was setting, painting the crystal towers in shades of fire. I must tell you something, she said. Something that your Captain Hyun knows, but most humans do not. The Galactic Council is not what it appears to be. What do you mean? Every species on the Council is like us. Long-lived, yes. Advanced, yes. But fragile. We have built a civilization based on avoiding conflict because none of us can afford the cost of war. A single battle could devastate our populations. We take decades to recover from injuries. We avoid risks. Taeyang began to understand. But humans don't. No, you heal. You recover. You take damage and keep going. Her skin shifted through several colors. When I saw your wound, I knew the prophecies were real. I knew that everything was about to change. Because a species that can heal like yours, that can take punishment and survive, that is not bound by the same fears we are. Such a species could reshape the entire galaxy. We're not conquerors, Taeyang said firmly. We came here for peace. I know. I believe that. But others on the Council will be afraid. They will see humans as a threat even if you intend no harm. She turned to face him directly. There is something else. My empire faces a threat, a species called the Volcar. Creatures that breed quickly and attack in swarms. We cannot fight them. Every soldier we lose takes years to replace. We are losing this war slowly. You want human help? I want an alliance. Not as masters and servants, but as equals. Your people's strength combined with our technology and knowledge. She paused. But I cannot ask this officially. The Council would never allow it. They would see it as humans becoming too powerful. Taeyang looked at his healing wound. A week ago, this injury nearly killed him. Now he could walk, could move his arm, could function. For the Vareth, this would still be a crippling wound months from now. I need to talk to Captain Hyun, he said. I know. I am speaking to you first because you understand something the others do not yet grasp. You understand what it means to be wounded and refuse to fall. That is what humanity is. That is why the galaxy will never be the same. That night, Taeyang stood in front of a mirror in his room. He carefully removed his bandage and looked at the wound. It was still bad, still painful, still would scar, but it was healing. In a few more weeks, he would be fine. For the first time, he truly understood what made humans special. Not weapons, not technology, not intelligence. It was this: the ability to take damage and keep going, the ability to heal and return, the ability to survive. He thought about the Queen's words, about the prophecies, about the Volcar threat, about what it meant for humanity's place among the stars. His body was healing, but he wondered if the galaxy was ready for what that healing represented. Outside his window, the crystal city glowed in the darkness, beautiful and fragile, waiting for the dawn. The royal archives stretched deeper than Taeyang thought possible. Crystal shelves held data crystals that glowed with soft light, each one containing centuries of information. Queen Velnara had granted the human delegation access to sections that few outsiders ever saw. Sunmi moved between the shelves like a child in a toy store, her eyes bright with excitement. Yuna, Taeyang's younger sister, who had arrived with the second wave of delegates, worked beside her. As a biologist, Yuna wanted to understand everything about how different species compared to humans. This is incredible, Yuna breathed, scanning another data crystal. These records go back 10,000 years. The Varath have documented everything. Taeyang stood with them, his wound now wrapped in a simple bandage. 2 weeks had passed since the attack. He could move freely, though his chest still ached. The Varath doctors continued to watch him in amazement. Every day they expected his healing to slow down. Every day it continued at the same impossible pace. Found something? Sunmi called out. She projected a hologram from her datapad. It showed a map of the galaxy, with different regions marked in colors. This is the Galactic Council's territory. Look at the species listed. Taeyang studied the display. Dozens of species, all members of the Council. What am I looking for? Their characteristics, Yuna said, pulling up detailed files. Look, the Vareth live an average of 800 years but have extremely slow healing. The Ralthi live for 600 years but have brittle bones. The Shenva live for 1,000 years but have weak immune systems. Every single species on the Council is the same. Long life, advanced minds, but physical fragility. It's not a coincidence, Sunmi added. The Council formed 5,000 years ago, and it's always been made up of fragile species. They've built an entire galactic civilization around avoiding physical conflict. Doyun, the human engineer, joined them. He had been studying Varath technology and military history. It makes sense when you think about it. If your species takes decades to heal from serious injuries, war becomes impossible. You can't afford casualties. So instead, you negotiate, you trade, you build defensive technology. But what about aggressive species? Taeyang asked. There must be others out there who don't care about casualties. There are, said a new voice. Queen Velnara entered the archive, her skin a thoughtful purple. But they are not part of the Council. They are the outsiders, the threats we defend against. Like the Volcar, she activated a new hologram. It showed insect-like creatures, millions of them, swarming across planets. The Volcar breed rapidly. A single queen can produce thousands of warriors in a year. They do not negotiate. They do not fear death. They simply swarm and consume. How have you fought them? Yuna asked. Barely, the queen admitted. We use automated defenses, long-range weapons, anything to avoid direct combat. But they adapt. They learn. And they keep coming. In the last century, we have lost 3 colony worlds to them. Taeyang studied the images. The Volcar looked terrifying, but he had seen combat footage from Earth's history. Humans had faced swarms before in different forms. You need ground forces. Soldiers who can take hits and keep fighting. Yes, the queen said simply. We need humans. Later that day, Taeyang trained with a group of Varath soldiers. The queen had arranged it, wanting her people to see humans in action. The Varath warriors were tall and graceful, carrying weapons that hummed with energy. They moved like dancers, every motion precise and controlled. Show us your combat techniques, requested the commander, a Varath named Kalreth. His skin was a military gray, all business. Taeyang demonstrated basic human hand-to-hand combat. He moved through strikes and blocks, showing how humans fought when weapons failed. The Varath watched in silence. "Now try to hit me," Taeyang said. Kalreth hesitated. "I do not wish to injure you." "You won't. Try." The Varath moved with liquid grace, his fist aimed at Taeyang's shoulder. It was a careful strike, controlled. Taeyang blocked it and countered with a gentle push. Kalreth stumbled back, clearly shocked. "Your turn to strike me," the Varath said. Taeyang pulled his punch, barely tapping Kalreth's chest. Even that light touch made the Varath wince and step back. His skin flashed white with pain. "I barely touched you," Taeyang said, worried he had hurt the soldier. "I know," Kalreth replied, his voice tight. "But for us, even small impacts cause pain. Our bodies are not built for physical combat. We bruise easily. Our bones crack from falls that you would walk away from." Taeyang began to fully understand. These were soldiers, trained warriors, and yet they were fragile in ways humans never thought about. A punch that would just hurt a human could seriously injure a Varath. "How do you fight the Volcar in close combat?" he asked. "We don't," Kalreth said quietly. "When they reach close range, we usually die." That evening, Captain Hyun called a meeting with all the human delegates. They gathered in their ship, away from Varath ears. "The Queen has made her request official," Hyun announced. "She wants a military alliance between humanity and the Varath Empire. She's offering technology, resources, and full partnership in exchange for human military support against the Volcar." "That's huge," Minho said. "That could change everything for humanity. We'd go from newcomers to major players overnight. But it will also make us enemies," Jiwon pointed out. "Other council species will see us as a threat. They'll worry that we're becoming too powerful." "They're already worried," Sunmi said. She had been taking notes constantly since arriving. "I've been talking to Varath scholars. They say other council species have been discussing humanity in closed sessions. They're afraid of us." "Afraid of what?" Yuna asked. "We came in peace." "Afraid of what we represent," Taeyang said. Everyone turned to look at him. "We're not fragile. We heal, we fight. We take risks they can't afford to take. Just by existing, we challenge everything their civilization is built on." An alert chimed. Hyun checked his communicator and frowned. "There's a council ambassador here. Wants to speak with us immediately." The ambassador's name was Shurthan, and he was from a species called the Othva. He looked somewhat like a tall lizard with feathers, and his manner was cold and formal. "Humanity must understand its position," Shurthan said without preamble. "You are new to the galactic community. You do not yet understand how things work." "Then explain it to us," Hyun replied calmly. "The Council maintains peace through careful balance. No species can become too powerful. No military alliances are permitted without full Council approval. The Queen of the Varath knows this. Her request to you violates Council law. What happens if we agree to help them?" Taeyang asked. Shurthan's feathers ruffled. "Economic sanctions. Trade restrictions. Possibly expulsion from the Council. Humanity would become isolated, cut off from galactic society. Or," Sunmi said quietly, "we would become something new, a species that doesn't need the Council's permission." The ambassador's eyes narrowed. "That is exactly what the Council fears. A species that thinks it can act independently, that believes its physical advantages make it special. Such thinking leads to war." "We don't want war," Hyun insisted. "Perhaps not. But you must understand, humans are different from us in ways that make others uncomfortable. Your healing ability, your resilience, your willingness to take physical risks. These traits are not advantages in Council space. They are threats." After the ambassador left, the delegates sat in silence. Finally, Yuna spoke. "They're afraid of us just for existing." "That's not fair." "Fear is never fair," Taeyang said. He touched his healing wound, feeling the new skin underneath the bandage. "But it's real. They've built their whole civilization around fragility. We represent something they can't control." That night, Taeyang met privately with Queen Velnara in her chambers. The room was simple despite her status, filled with books and star charts. "The Council has warned you," she said. It was not a question. "Yes. They'll punish both of us if we form an alliance." The Queen's skin shifted through several colors before settling on determined red. "I expected this. The Council has kept my people safe but also weak. They do not want any species to become strong enough to challenge the system." "What do you want, really?" Taeyang asked. "Beyond help with the Volcar?" She was quiet for a long moment. I want my people to stop being afraid. For 800 years I have ruled the Vareth Empire. For all those years we have lived in fear of injury, of conflict, of anything that might harm us. When I saw you take that plasma blast and survive, when I watched you heal from a wound that would cripple one of my people forever, I realized something. We have been living half a life. You want to be more like us? No, I want us to learn from you. To understand that strength comes in many forms. Your species is young, but you have something we lost long ago. You have courage born from knowing you can recover from failure. Taeyang looked out the window at the Crystal City. My captain hasn't decided yet. This could go badly for humanity. I know, but I believe some risks are worth taking. She smiled, an expression that looked almost human. After all, I learned that from you. You risked your life for a stranger. That is not the action of a cautious species. No, Taeyang agreed. It's not. They stood together in silence, looking at the stars, both wondering what choice humanity would make. The emergency message came at dawn. Taeyang was finishing his morning exercises, testing his healed chest when alarms blared throughout the palace. He ran to the command center, finding Captain Hyun and the Queen already there, staring at a holographic display. What's happening? Taeyang asked. The Volcar, the Queen said, her skin flashing between red and white. They've attacked Vareth Colony World Talvin. 3 million of my people are there. The hologram showed orbital scans of a green planet swarming with dark shapes. Volcar ships surrounded the world like a cloud of insects. On the surface, bright spots marked ongoing battles. How long can the colony hold? Hyun asked. 2 days, perhaps 3, said a Vareth military commander. We have sent our fleet, but they will not arrive in time. By then, everyone will be dead. What about ground forces? Taeyang knew the answer before asking. We have soldiers there, but they are pinned down. The Volcar fight in close quarters in tunnels and buildings. Our people cannot survive that kind of combat. The commander looked at Taeyang. Your wound has healed remarkably. You could fight now, yes? Yes, Taeyang said simply. The Queen turned to Captain Hyun. I am asking. Not as a ruler to a subordinate, but as one leader to another. Will you help us? Hyun was quiet for a long moment. If we do this, the council will act against us. Both our peoples will face consequences. I know. But if we do nothing, 3 million of my people will die. I cannot accept that. Her skin settled on determined red. I will face the council's wrath. The question is, will you? Hyun looked at Taeyang, then at the hologram showing the dying colony. How many humans would you need? Whatever you can spare, the Queen said. Even a small force would make a difference. Give me an hour, Hyun said. The human delegation met on their ship. The mood was tense. Everyone knew what this decision meant. This is insane, said one of the diplomats. We're risking everything humanity has worked for. Our place in the council, our relationships with other species, everything. 3 million people are dying, Yuna countered. We have the ability to help. Doesn't that mean something? It means we have to think about the bigger picture, the diplomat shot back. If we get expelled from the council, humanity becomes isolated. That could set us back decades. Minho stood up. I volunteer. Whatever we decide, I'm going. Me too, said Taeyang. His chest was fully healed now, just a pink scar remaining. He was ready. And me, added Hana, one of the shuttle pilots. Others began volunteering. Within minutes, 20 humans had stepped forward. Hyun looked at them all. This is not an official mission. Officially, you will be acting against orders. If the council comes after us, I will claim you acted independently. Do you understand? We understand, Taeyang said. We're doing it anyway. Hyun smiled slightly. Then let's go save a colony. 3 hours later, a mixed force of 20 humans and 50 Vareth soldiers boarded a fast ship. Commander Seojin, a veteran of Earth's military conflicts, took charge of the human forces. He was older than most of them, with gray in his hair and scars that told stories. Listen up, Seojin said as they prepared for departure. The Volcar fight like army ants. They swarm, they overwhelm, they don't stop. But they're not smart individually. They react to threats with patterns. We can use that. How do we fight them? Asked a young Vareth soldier. Close and brutal. They have numbers, but we have something they don't. We can take hits and keep fighting. You Vareth will provide cover fire and support. We humans will go in and clear them out. The ship jumped to faster than light travel. During the journey, Taeyang watched the Vareth soldiers prepare. They checked their weapons 3 times each. They whispered prayers to their gods. They were terrified, and they had every right to be. For them, this battle could mean death or permanent injury. First time in real combat? Taeyang asked Kalreth, who was also on the mission. Yes, I have trained for 200 years but never fought. The Verath's skin was pale with fear. I am afraid, that's good. Fear keeps you sharp. Taeyang checked his rifle. Stay behind us. Let the humans take the hits. That's what we're good at. They dropped out of faster than light near Talvin. The planet's orbit was thick with Volcar ships, but most were focused on the surface. The human Verath ship slipped through the blockade, heading for the main colony city. Brace for combat landing, the pilot called. The ship screamed through atmosphere, taking hits from Volcar weapons. Taeyang felt the impacts shake the hull. He gripped his rifle tighter. Beside him, the Verath soldiers looked ready to panic, but they held their positions. They crashed into a landing zone near the colony's central district. The door blew open and Taeyang saw hell. Volcar were everywhere. They looked like massive insects, each the size of a large dog. With 6 legs and razor-sharp mandibles, they moved in waves, thousands of them, covering the ground like a living carpet. The colony's buildings were scarred with plasma burns. Bodies lay in the streets. Go, 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 Seojun shouted. The humans charged out first. Taeyang fired his rifle, dropping Volcar with controlled bursts. Beside him, Minho and Hana did the same. The Verath soldiers followed, setting up firing positions behind cover. A Volcar leaped at Taeyang. He smashed it aside with his rifle, feeling the impact jar his arms. Another came from the side. He kicked it away. A third latched onto his leg. He felt its mandibles cut through his armor, biting into his calf. Pain flared, but he ignored it, shooting the creature off him. Taeyang's hit, one of the Verath shouted. I'm fine, he called back, still firing. Blood ran down his leg, but it was not serious. He could still move, still fight. A Verath soldier screamed. A Volcar had gotten through their line, clawing at the soldier's arm. The soldier fell, his skin flashing white with agony. 2 humans rushed over, killing the Volcar and dragging the soldier to safety. One scratch and they go down, Minho said, breathing hard. We need to keep them away from the Verath. Agreed. Humans form the front line. Verath provide fire support. Push forward. They moved through the city, clearing buildings one by one. The Volcar swarmed endlessly, but the human tactics worked. Every time a human took a hit, they kept fighting. Taeyang collected several more wounds, none serious enough to stop him. His armor was scratched and dented. His body hurt, but he kept going. The Verath soldiers watched in amazement. They saw humans take injuries that would hospitalize a Verath for months, and those humans just kept fighting like the wounds were nothing. How do you do it? Kalreth asked during a brief pause. How do you keep going? Because we have to, Taeyang said, wrapping a quick bandage around a cut on his arm. And because we know we'll heal. They reached the colony's command center by nightfall. The surviving Verath civilians were barricaded inside, defended by the last of the colony's guards. The humans and Verath reinforcements smashed through the Volcar surrounding the building, finally breaking the siege. You came, said the colony governor, an elderly Verath who looked ready to collapse with relief. We thought we would all die. Not today, Seojun said. But we need to set up a perimeter. They'll come again. The Volcar did come again, wave after wave through the night. But now the colony had defenders who could take the punishment and keep fighting. By dawn, the Volcar began to retreat. Their hive ships started pulling back from orbit. They're leaving, Hana reported from the command center. We did it. The cost was clear in the morning light. Taeyang looked at his fellow humans. Everyone was wounded. Some had serious injuries that would need medical attention, but they were all alive, all able to walk. The 3 Verath soldiers who had been injured were being carried on stretchers. Their wounds were relatively minor by human standards, but for them, they meant weeks of recovery. You saved 3 million of my people. Queen Velnara's voice came over the communication system. She was still on her homeworld, but had watched everything. The galaxy will hear of this. The council will know what happened here. Let them know, Hyun said. He had arrived with the main Verath fleet. We made our choice. 2 days later, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. Captain Hyun and Queen Velnara stood before them while Taeyang watched from the gallery. You have violated council law, Ambassador Shurthan declared. Humanity formed a military alliance without permission. The consequences are severe. We saved 3 million lives, Hyun replied calmly. Would you rather we let them die? The law exists for good reason. Military alliances destabilize the balance of power. Queen Velnara stepped forward. You speak of balance, but you mean control. For 5,000 years, the Council has maintained peace by keeping every species weak and dependent. You feared any species becoming strong enough to act independently. Well, humanity has proven they are exactly that strong. And you believe this is good? Another council member asked. Yes, the Queen said firmly. Because strength does not mean aggression. These humans risked themselves to save strangers. They could have ignored our plea. They could have let my people die. Instead, they fought beside us, took wounds that would cripple any of you, and kept fighting. That is not the behavior of conquerors. That is the behavior of heroes. The council chamber erupted in argument. Some species demanded sanctions. Others called for expulsion. A few very quietly asked if maybe the council needed to change. In the end, the council reached a compromise. Humanity would face no official sanctions, but the human Verath all 6 months had passed since the Battle of Talven. Taiyang stood on a balcony overlooking the Verath capital, watching the morning sun turn the crystal towers gold. His scars had fully healed, leaving only faint lines on his chest and leg. To a Verath, these scars would still be fresh wounds. To him, they were just memories. "You're up early," said a familiar voice. Queen Velnara joined him on the balcony, her skin the calm blue of contentment. In the month since the battle, they had spent much time together. She had appointed him as the first human military liaison to the Verath Empire. Couldn't sleep. Too much happening today. Today was important, the formal alliance ceremony. After months of negotiation, debate, and careful diplomacy, the human Verath alliance was becoming official. The council had finally approved it, though reluctantly. "Are you nervous?" the Queen asked. "A little. This is bigger than me. Bigger than both of us." "Yes, but it started with you. With your wound that would not kill you. With your body that refused to break." She looked at his scars with that expression of wonder she still sometimes showed. "You changed everything." The ceremony took place in the great hall of the palace. Representatives from Earth and the Verath Empire stood together. Captain Himon and Queen Velnara signed the alliance documents while cameras from across the galaxy watched. "Today marks a new chapter," Hyun said in his speech. "A chapter where species work together not out of fear but out of mutual respect, where strength is used to protect, not to conquer." The Queen's speech was even more direct. For too long, the galaxy has been governed by fear. Fear of injury, fear of loss, fear of change. Humanity has shown us a different way. They have shown us that resilience is not just about avoiding damage, but about recovering from it. That courage means taking risks, even when you might get hurt. This alliance represents our commitment to that philosophy. After the ceremony, Taiyang met with Minho and Hana. They were training Verath soldiers in human combat tactics. The program had grown from a small experiment to a major initiative. "How's it going?" Taiyang asked. "Better than expected," Minho replied. "The Verath are learning. They'll never fight like humans, but they understand the principles. Stay mobile, support each other, don't freeze when you take a hit." "Some of them are even getting brave," Hana added with a smile. "Last week, one of the trainees took a fall during an exercise. Scraped his knee pretty badly. He got up and kept going. His instructors were shocked." "Small steps," Taeyang said. "That's how change happens." In another part of the palace, Yuna and Jiwon worked in a medical research facility. They had been studying whether human regenerative medicine could help other species. The early results were promising. "Look at this," Yuna said, showing Taiyang a holographic display. "We've isolated some of the proteins that help human wounds heal faster. With some modification, we think we can adapt them for Verath biology." "How much faster would they heal?" Taiyang asked. "Not as fast as humans, but maybe twice as fast as they do now. That could be revolutionary for them. Imagine a Verath soldier, recovering from a serious wound in weeks instead of months." Jiwon pulled up more data. "We're also working with other council species. The Othva, the Ralti, even the Shenva are interested. Everyone wants to understand human healing." Are they still afraid of us? Taeyang wondered. Some are, but more are curious now. You can't stay afraid forever, especially when the thing you fear is helping you. That afternoon, Taeyang gave a presentation to a group of young Varath students. They wanted to learn about humans, about Earth, about what made humanity different. Why don't you break? Asked one young Varath, her skin bright with curiosity. Taeyang thought about how to explain. We do break, but we heal. Our bodies are built to take damage and repair it. It's not magic, it's just biology. But you also choose to fight, another student said, even when you know you will be hurt. Why? Because some things are worth the pain, protecting others, standing up for what's right, making a difference. He showed them his scars. These hurt when I got them, but they healed. And because I was willing to take that pain, 3 million Varath people survived. The students looked at his scars with the same wonder the Queen had shown months ago. To them, these marks represented something almost magical, the ability to survive what should kill you. That evening, there was a celebration in the Crystal Gardens. Humans and Varath mingled together, no longer strangers but allies. Taeyang saw Sunmi talking with Varath scholars, sharing stories and knowledge. He saw Doyun working with Varath engineers, combining human innovation with Varath technology. It's beautiful, isn't it? Said Yunji, the new Earth ambassador to the Varath Empire. She had arrived last month, taking over many of Captain Hyun's diplomatic duties. 6 months ago, most species in the galaxy saw us as primitive newcomers. Now we're changing how they think about everything. Is that good? Taeyang asked. I think so. Change is scary, but it's also necessary. The galaxy was stagnant before we arrived. Everyone too afraid to take risks, too fragile to try new things. We're showing them a different way. Queen Velnara found Taeyang as the celebration continued. Walk with me, she said. They left the crowds, walking through the quieter parts of the palace. The queen led him to a private garden filled with plants from different worlds. I want to show you something, she said. She touched a panel on the wall and a hidden door opened. Inside was a small chamber with ancient texts displayed in crystal cases. These are the prophecies I told you about, the ones about a species that would not break. Taeyang looked at the alien writing, which his translator rendered into readable text. The prophecies spoke of warriors from a distant world, people who would take wounds and rise again, who would shake the foundations of the galaxy, not with weapons, but with their refusal to fall. Do you really think these are about humans? He asked. I know they are. When I saw your wound, when I watched you heal, I knew. But it's not just about your biology, Taeyang. It's about what that biology allows you to do. You take risks because you know you can recover. You fight for others because you're not paralyzed by fear of injury. That courage, that resilience, that is what these prophecies spoke of. She turned to face him. In 6 months, you have changed the Varath Empire more than any ruler in our history. Our soldiers are braver. Our people are more willing to take chances. Even our scientists are pursuing riskier research because they see humans doing the impossible every day. I'm just one person. We're just one species. You are the species that refused to break. And because of that, the galaxy will never be the same. Later, Taeyang stood alone on the same balcony where the day had begun. He looked up at the stars, thinking about Earth, about home. He had left as a security officer on a diplomatic mission. He was returning as something more. A symbol. A bridge between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. His communicator chimed. A message from Earth. There were more humans coming, more volunteers who wanted to join the Alliance. Scientists, soldiers, teachers, engineers. Humanity was committing fully to this new relationship. There were also requests from other species. The Ralthi wanted human military advisors. The Shenva wanted to study human medicine. Even the cautious Athva were asking questions about possible cooperation. The galaxy was changing. The Council's old rules were bending. Species that had hidden behind walls of fear for thousands of years were starting to step out. And it had all started with a single wound that refused to be fatal. Taeyang touched his scars, feeling the healed skin under his fingers. These marks had changed everything. They had proven that humans were different, that fragility was not the only way to live, that courage could come from knowing you would survive your failures. Ready for what comes next? Minho appeared beside him, holding 2 drinks. I don't know. This is all happening so fast. That's how humans do things. Fast, bold, a little crazy. Minho handed him a drink. The Verath are calling you the warrior who would not fall. It's becoming a legend already. I fell plenty of times. But you got back up, that's the point. That's what they don't understand, what they're learning from us. It's not about never falling. It's about always getting back up. They stood together in comfortable silence, 2 humans who had somehow become central to galactic politics. Below them, the crystal city glowed. Above them, the stars waited. Queen Velnara's words echoed in Taeyang's mind. The age of fragile empires was ending. Something new was beginning, an age where species learned from each other, where strength was shared instead of feared, where resilience was seen as a gift to be celebrated, not a threat to be contained. Taeyang thought about all the humans coming to join the alliance. They would bring their own scars, their own stories of survival and recovery. Each one would prove again what the galaxy was only beginning to understand. Humans could be hurt, they could be wounded, they could be knocked down. But they would heal, they would adapt, they would endure. That was humanity's true gift to the galaxy. Not weapons, not technology, not even their unusual biology. It was hope, the hope that came from knowing that damage was not permanent, that setbacks were not final, that you could take your hits and keep going. You know what I think? Taeyang said final.